Hello, today I'm visiting the Ballarat mill market where there's loads of second-hand goods for sale, so I'm hoping to find some really nice little Matchbox cars, and hopefully I'll take them home and do them up. So come and have a look with me. This place is absolutely huge and has tens of thousands of items for sale. So today, as I said before, I'm searching for some new Matchbox material to make into a video and present to you, the viewer, for your visual pleasure. There's a lot of collectibles in here, including Betty Boop. I don't know how many people collect Betty Boop things. I know we've got a couple in the bathroom. But these two Betty Boops are huge. Still haven't found any Matchbox cars, but hey, look. There's a familiar sight. Looks like Kevin. Okay, I started to find some model cars here, but this is not a collection of model cars as such. This is a collection of Coca-Cola memorabilia. So I'll pass on that one. Aha! Now here's something that might be interesting. Although having a look around, because I'm specifically looking for the 1 to 75 series models, and everyone I've seen so far I have done. So I'm skipping over them, and the ones that I haven't done, or the ones that maybe I'd like to buy, are they're in perfect condition. Had me on that train there, but I didn't like the wheels on it. They're all plasticky, and I didn't feel like it had much quality about it, so I skipped on that one. Here's some more of those Coca-Cola memorabilia things. So I'm back from the Ballarat vintage and collectibles market, which we call the mill because I think it's built in an old mill. And there was loads of Matchbox cars there in cabinets. Well, when I say loads, probably less than 100, but quite a few. Most of which I've already done and have included in a video. So there was some slim pickings for me, and I was left with limited choice. And the only couple of things I picked up today was a what would you call that? A dirt scraper, or like a sort of a grader, almost a dirt scraper. I got one of those, and the king size. And this here is a rather unusual one. It's from the Discovery 2000 or Explorer 2000 set. I have one of them, which has the missiles on the roof that fire off. And this was one that I didn't know existed, and I just thought it was a little bit quirky. It might make for an unusual and interesting video. What I didn't realise though at the time was, having got home and looked it up on the computer just before, I've noticed there's a couple of wings missing, and can't fly without the wings, so don't quite know how I'm going to fix those, not having any readily at hand. Anyway, that's what I got. So today, for this video, I'm going to be doing the mud scraper, and I shall now get into it. So here's a closer up picture for you all to look at. This, as I said before, is the Matchbox king sized number 6, the Allis-Chalmers motor scraper that came out a year before I was born in 1961. Now there's only 2 variations to this vehicle, and that's the colour of the wheels. You can get one with silver metal wheels, or like this one, they come out with red plastic wheels. According to the Charlie Mack's Encyclopedia of Matchbox Toys, they are both worth the same. There's some advertising material there, and it boasts that this thing has got power, capacity, speed, and ruggedness. Ruggedness. It's a word I don't use very often. Well, this one here definitely needs a little bit of TLC. So now I'm checking the base of it out, which looks really, really good condition. You can see it's the number 6 there, and it's called the motor scraper, which I thought was a bit weird. Made in England by Lesney, base held on with 2 splayed ears and 1 rivet. Now the wheel was, the tyre was off this model, and thankfully whoever dropped it in the shop or whatever happened remembered to pick up the tyre and put it in the back, so that whoever's going to buy it would get the full thing just in bits and pieces. Strange thing is, the end of the axle is so large it won't go through that hole in the axle support, and the red wheel doesn't want to come off. So it must have suffered some hefty shock to knock that tyre off and dislodge the axle. Having a closer look, check that out. That's unusual. There's the main colour is this orange, a pinky orange, and it's got a red engine, sort of a burgundy red, plum coloured engine. A couple of springs there, and I looked at a photograph online, and the springs are where, on the real thing, there's 2 hydraulic jacks. That little blade on the top, not too sure what function it performs, but looking online, there was one that was sold with the box, and it actually said in the description, box damaged by the fin on the frame. So that can punch its way through the cardboard box. This thing's already dropping paint off as I'm just looking at it, so I think it's keen to get itself cleaned up. So it's time for me to oblige. So I start to take it apart. Now, the end of the axle is extremely close to the hub and very, very dangerous to remove it with that spinning sanding drum. Was a chance I could have severely damaged the tyres, and I wouldn't want to do that because these are in pristine condition. Guess it hasn't really been played with much. Trying to get this out, like I said, was a bit of an effort. So I actually have to, even though this is out of the hole in the where the axle goes through, it still has that flared mushroom end, and I can't get the red hub off without grinding that off, so I do that first. Even now it's still pretty tight. Alright, I guess you could say stage 1 is complete. Looking at the frame, it's an unusual sort of articulated cab on a frame, and the frame's got a bucket, and the bucket moves independently of the frame. It's held in place by 2 rivets, which are pivot points, and 2 springs. These are a little bit rusty, and they let the whole model down. Actually, if I do the model and leave the springs in this condition, it will not look very good. So I've got a plan, I've got something up my sleeve that I might be able to work with. We'll see. So there I'm showing you that the rear bucket there, that the spoil from the scraper is stored in, and I guess it then goes to a dumping area and empties itself and comes back and resumes the job. It pivots on these 2 tiny rivets, and they're awkwardly positioned inside of the bucket, and there's not much room for error here. If this thing skids off, it could leave quite a nasty groove on the inside of the bucket. So I'm playing it really, really careful here, just dabbing it a little bit at a time, in the hope that I can remove it and then actually have some metal left so I can force it back in again. Because this would be a nightmare to reform without the special tools that they had in the factory. Now, using my spring-loaded centre punch there, I just knock that through the hole. There is a bit of a burr on the end. I'm hoping that I can reuse these rivets and somehow miraculously make them stay in place. So I repeat the process on the other side. And I must admit, now I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't have done that. We'll see how hard it's going to be to put back together. And there's those tiny little rivets. So if I drop one of those on the floor, it will take me at least an hour to find it, I'm sure. Now I've got these two orange colours here, Mr. Hobby. One's 14 and the other one's 14. They've all got different colours on the caps. And looking at the paint through the base of the bottles, it could be my imagination, but I actually thought they were a shade different. But that one on the right looks a little bit brighter than the one on the left. But neither of them are compatible with the model, so I'm going to have to start from scratch and make my own colour. So I'm using these Tamiya X7 and the good old lemon yellow that I used in the last video. Still got a little bit left there. I'm a bit scared to add too much red. 2 drops and the colour changes quite dramatically initially, and then it sort of settles down again and you think, hang on, let's add some more red. And it slowly gets orangier, is there such a word? Gets more like an orange as I go. And it's now dawned on me that really this colour of this model is not even orange. When you got orange and you compare it to the model, they're not the same colour. It's more of a sort of a pink. So I have to start from scratch again. And I use all those different colours blended together to try and make something similar. And I am a bit scared because those paints, although they make up the right colour, they're not 100% compatible, because I've actually mixed some acrylic paint with some water-based paint, so we'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, enough about that for the time being. I'm going out to check on Kevin. He set himself up in Julie's sewing room. He's got a new job. He's taking calls from a call centre, working for the government, working from home. Oh, hi Kev, did you get the laptop hooked up and working? Oh, great. Oh, right, yeah. Gee, it looks pretty complicated. Still, I know. Guess you know what you're doing. I'll leave you to it. And don't forget, make plenty of money. I'll leave him to it and check up on him later. So time to strip the model. And I hope that the paint I've mixed up goes on when I need it to. Seeing as, like I said, the paints in theory should be non-compatible. But when you haven't got any other options, you just take a chance now and again. And that's what I've done. This model's very fiddly, a lot of voids, a lot of holes and hidey holes for the paint to cling on. I've decided not to separate the front section. I'm leaving that as one. Hopefully I'll be able to spray around it and through it to get even coverage. So the bucket is off at the back, that's separate, but the cab and the scraper are still together. Wow, the paint came off pretty good. Have a look at some of the detail here. Uh-oh. Something I didn't notice when I bought it. I thought it was in pretty good shape, but there's a break up there. Piece of metal's gone. And I'm not happy. Gonna have to try and fix that. The rest of it's in pretty good condition. Look at the detail on that engine. There's heaps and heaps of bits on there. I'd love to see it compared to a real engine. I guess the designers would have tried to make it look exactly the same. and they've really gone to town on it. There's bits and bobs clinging on, starter motor, filters, all that. As usual, the paint stripper is not 100%, but with this particular model, it's more likely than not because of all of the tight right angles throughout the casting. And that's where the paint tends to cling on. So first up, I'm just straightening that bent piece, pushing it forwards a little bit. Applied a little bit of heat, hoping it wouldn't break off. It didn't break off, which was good. So I'm going to try the old muggy weld again. So a little dab will do of the flux. I use my trusty little torch. This torch, I've had it for years, I reckon 5 years. It's a brilliant little thing. I'm terrified I'm going to melt that piece that I just bent. I'm terrified it's just going to vanish. So I'm working quick here and trying not to make things too hot. And the thing with muggy weld is more often than not, you get a blob. You're very lucky if you don't get a blob, but in my experience, I keep getting blobs. So this is a classic example. And then when you grind it off, it breaks off because it hasn't actually adhered to the original metal. It's basically just formed itself, wrapped itself around the metal. But the second time round, I get it a little bit hotter, and thankfully I didn't melt anything other than the muggy weld, and it's clinging on really, really tightly. I must admit, the muggy weld is extremely tough metal, and it took me a long time to grind this little hole out so that I was satisfied with the result. So it turned out better than I thought it would, in actual fact, and I'm very pleased with myself. It's now that I noticed that fin on the top. If anyone knows what it does, please let me know. It was slightly bent, so I straightened that up again with a little bit of heat. Didn't want it to snap off. Now I'm coating it with some fine surface primer from the Tamiya range, the light grey. And that repair is absolutely brilliant. In fact, I'm happy with that. It looks like it was never broken. These rusty little springs, remember I noted that they were rusty and don't know what I was going to do with them. Well, I remembered in the shed I've had this box of springs I bought on a whim, and I think it might have been from Aldi years ago in the hardware section where they have bits and bobs. I've never actually used it, I don't think. So today is a first. I went and found it, and lo and behold, there's a load of springs in here, and some of them look very, very similar to the one that Matchbox used. Same diameter, same or similar diameter steel strands. So I picked one of these long ones, and I figure I can stretch it and bend it and cut it to length, and then I can do the same on the other end. And then I'll have two brand new springs to put on. I want this thing to look like it's straight out of the box on Christmas Day 1961. It's a strange model. I don't know whether a kid will be happy to receive it or disappointed because they wanted like a, I don't know, a tipper truck, an emergency vehicle, but a mud scraper. Not too sure I would have liked it, but I like it now because it's going to turn out really good. I can feel it in my bones. So here's this paint that I've made up. I call it a cocktail. It's a cocktail of colours and types of paint, and I'm very mindful that it might not go on first time round, so I'll give it a really good stir. I'm trying it on the base first, so if it really looks rubbish, wouldn't really matter, but it's actually going on not too bad. Not exactly high gloss, more sort of a satin finish, but what I'm intending to do is to coat the model with some Tamiya clear varnish at the end of it, and hopefully it will make everything look good and sort of meant to be. You can see what I mean about the pink, can't you? It kind of looks like a pink in this light. Looks like orange in some light and pink in another. It's one of those weird colours, and yeah, very difficult to try and replicate it. I'm mindful that because of the shape of the casting, some areas haven't got 100% coverage, so I'm going to fully intend to touch those up towards the end. These wheels are super duper. I don't think anyone played with it. Definitely not outside, maybe on the carpet. But the wheels look brand new, and I've just given them a clean and a coat of varnish. The decals are very, very fiddly. I took some close-up photos before I pulled the old ones off, and I looked on the internet for some examples. And they're extremely thin and very difficult to duplicate the font. Managed to do it though. I'm keen to see what they look like when they're fitted. The russet colour there is the colour I've chosen for the engine. I believe it was burgundy when I stripped it, and that's the only colour I've got similar to what I recall the colour to be. So it's that time already. I'm putting it back together. Can you believe it? It's gone so quick. These are very tight, these pivot points. I have to actually hammer them back into the hole, which is exactly what I wanted. This one here, there's a little bit of excess protruding, and so I place it on this miniature anvil, which is a bolt that's been ground down, and give it another couple of whacks for good measure, and hopefully it's just made the end that's inside the bucket just flared a little bit, just to give it a little bit of strength rather than it just sitting in there held in by a burr. I put the wheels back on. That was quite fiddly. You had to put the hub through the gap in the frame and then fit the tyre to it and then put the axle through. Bit fiddly. But I'm getting excited now. This thing, initially when I saw it, I thought it was an ugly bug. Would stay in the toy box week after week, not being played with. But I actually think Matchbox probably didn't make this to be played with. I reckon they made this as a showpiece, because the amount of detail and the effort that's gone into making this model must have been phenomenal. I mean, it's 3 major parts and they have all got to fit together, and they've got so much detail on them. It's really kind of rubbishy looking decal. Looks exactly like the original. Weird font, almost like someone's painted it on by hand. But obviously it's what they look like in the day. I couldn't quite match the colour. I used an app on my phone to photograph the paint and try to get the background colour to match. It's not quite there, but I do hide the edge of the decal with a very fine coat of paint. I used the smallest brush in my arsenal. And look at it now. It is indeed a fantastic machine and a fantastic model with a lot of interest. When you start looking at it up close, you tend to bond with these things. all of a sudden, it's your best mate. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. If you have, please like and subscribe. And recommend to your friends. Anyway, I've got to pop outside and just check on Kevin, see how he's going, see how much money he's made today in his telemarketing role. So I'll do that now. How's it going, buddy? Hey, Kevin. Kevin. Hey, what's up? Are you okay?
Hello.
Till next time, this is Marty saying goodbye and thanks for watching.